Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar dedicated to Agri-footprint, which is a database that focuses on the agriculture and food sector. And namely today, we are going to find out more about the latest version, so Agri-footprint 7.0, sorry. Perfect. Now, before getting to that, I would like to quickly present ourselves. My name is Chiara De Grandis. I'm a sustainability consultant, and I also take care of communications at GreenDelta. For those that maybe don't know, GreenDelta is the developer of openLCA, so our free and open source software, and one of the most used LCA software worldwide. Today with me, I'm really happy to have Mike and Jishin. They are from the Mérieux NutriSciences Blonk team, so the developer on the other side of Agri-footprint. Mike will be the main presenter, the main speaker. He's a lead data content, and Jishin is a sales and customer support consultant. So I want to thank them, first of all, for being here today and bringing their experience and expertise. Perfect. Now, let's take a look at the agenda. So indeed, we will start with a broader overview of the Agri-footprint database. So we'll get to know the developer, Mérieux NutriSciences Blonk. We'll see what has been Agri-footprint's journey so far, what's inside the database, so the main characteristics of this database. And then we will focus on the updates, so on Agri-footprint 7.0, especially compared to the previous version, so 6.3. We'll see the changes, which bugs have been fixed, and so on. Then we also take a glimpse of what's next, so the next steps, the next developments of the database. We will see what are the different licenses type, and then I will also have a chance to showcase Agri-footprint in our software, in openLCA. Of course, at the end, we will leave enough time for your questions. So on this note, please feel free to write your questions in the Q&A section in Teams. So please not in the chat, but in the Q&A section indeed. Okay, having said so, I will leave the floor to Mike.
Yes, thank you. Wait, I'll share my screen. I hope you can see
We do.
a presentation. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks for the introduction. We are Mérieux NutriSciences Blonk. We're an international leader in the food sustainability system. We have over 20 years of experience in the environmental footprint sector. And since 2003, we're part of Mérieux NutriSciences. We have three different compartments in our company. So we provide consultancy solutions. So that is dedicated LCA studies, but also footprint in training in footprints and development of footprint standards and methodologies. Dedicated software for all kinds of applications, and we provide data solutions, and that includes different databases, including our main product, which is Agri-footprint. As you can see here, there's a timeline of the Agri-footprint, different Agri-footprint versions over time. In 2013, we developed the first Agri-footprint version, and since then we have continuously updated, expanded the databases, and created different versions of the Agri-footprint database. Since 2017, there's also an openLCA version of our Agri-footprint. So Agri-footprint is since then also published in openLCA. What does it include? Currently, it includes over 1,400 different 1,400 different data sets, which are mostly crop country specific. For each, there are three different allocation options. So there's mass, energy, and economic allocation, of which the economic allocation is the preferred method. Land use change is fully integrated into the land use into the database. And we apply consistent methodology throughout the whole database in combination with consistent data sources. So the combination with consistent data source from, for example, FAO statistics in combination with consistent emission modeling makes the product very consistent. We provide the database in different formats. So there's an Excel table, result table that we provide, but also provide the database in different software platforms, including openLCA. The data is as transparent as possible. We rely on publicly available, try to use as much as possible publicly available information, and provide the background data, background methodology reports on their website. And there are this possibility to reach out if there are any questions. And we aim to regularly update the database. For this, we require scientific publications. We rely on publicly available information, mostly FAO statistics, but also IFA statistics and industry data in order to create these data sets. So what is inside? So most of the information, most of the LCIs are about crops, market mixes, animal products, and processing and background data sets. So for crops, we mostly focus currently on the feed crops that are used in the agro-food chain, basically. So wheat, grains, soybeans, potatoes, sunflower seeds, etc. And all the information is crop country specific. So all the information that you see is specific per country or per crop. Same goes for the market mixes. So if you want to use the specific commodities, you need to know where these commodities come from. If you use them within a certain country, you need to, and for this we use FAO statistics to determine the production of the local production and the imports of the commodity into the specific country. We also have dedicated animal products that are for which we have dedicated models to calculate the environmental impacts of pork, chicken, beef, and dairy products. These are also integrated into AFP. And on the processing side, we often rely on industry statistics that describe the impacts of all kinds of processed feed materials, for example, wheat flour, soybean meal, and chicken meat. And in order to calculate the impacts of all these different life cycle stages, you need background data sets. Some of these background data sets are developed by ourselves, like the fertilizer production and transport data sets. But for some others, we rely on EcoVent data sets. And for this, we use version 3.10 in the current AFP7 database. This is the current coverage of the Agri-footprint. So as you can see, it is mostly focused on Europe and North America. And this has sort of historical reasons. And we aim to expand this towards more global coverage in the near future. Agri-footprint as a fundament. So we develop Agri-footprint, but we also use let's say the underlying methodology and models for other products. So for example, we developed the European environmental footprint databases. So PEFCR feed, EF 3.1, the EF 4.0 database, using the same models as for AFP7. We also co-developed the Global Feed Lifecycle Assessment Institute database, which relies on a large part of AFP datasets. And for example, other examples are the European Food Consumption Database, which has a larger system boundary. So for example, if you look at AFP, it sort of stops at the processing gate or the animal gate in terms of system boundary. And these for the European and the Food Consumption Database, we include additional system boundaries, including the packaging, distribution, and the consumption life cycle stages as well. And these databases also include fruit and vegetables, which rely more or less on the same methodology as the other data sets that we have in the AFP. So what is new in Agri-footprint 7? So we applied multiple statistical updates. So for example, the yield data has been updated from using a 5-year average from 2018 to 2022. This was 2014, 2018 in AFP6. So there's an update of 4 years in that sense. The land use change data has been updated. We also updated the same manure statistics, similar as with the yield data. We updated the NP, the fertilizer, synthetic fertilizer use of the different of all the cultivations, as well as the synthetic fertilizer consumption data, which determine, let's say, the different fertilizer types that have been used in AFP. Other updates from FVO statistics are the seed inputs and the pesticide data inputs, which are all consistent in terms of time horizon for AFP7. Other statistical updates have been added for the market mix models. So in order to know where materials are sourced from, you need to know the amount of the same commodity, how much is produced within the country and how much is imported into that country. For that, we use FVO statistics on production and trade statistics, which also have been consistently updated using 5-year average from 2018 to 2022 in this version. Other changes for AFP, we made some methodological improvements. So for example, the water requirement ratio has been removed for the water consumption data, since the water consumption data it already includes this number, so that we applied a sort of double counting in the past. Another change has been that the negative heavy metal emissions, that is possible due to the current heavy metal approach is a sort of a mass balance approach in which the uptake could exceed the deposition of heavy metals, which could result in a negative number. This negative number is now converted into 0 because this else you would have all kinds of health benefits of cultivating crops, which was in our view not what we want, and that's also not what the PEF describes. We also improved the crop residue calculation for 5 specific crops, so we used a better proxy for the IPCC crop that we want, how we model these crops in essence. Based on feedback, we also changed the land transformation to and from. It's a bit technical, but the total transformation for arable crop is now 1 hectare total. We didn't include the transformation from its own crop in the past, but now we do. So after each cultivation, the whole land is renewed, and this is reflected in the land transformation from and to for each LCI. And we now use the crop system efficiency index to determine double cropping. So this is a new thing that is coming from the land use change tool, that better describes the double cropping in our view, and this is important because this affects all kinds of other emissions, including peat emissions, land use change emissions, and other emissions related to lime, for example. What is also we also made some change. We corrected some bugs in the data or in the modeling that we came across over time. And so there's been a correction in the ammonia fertilizer production. There's a small correction in the pesticide data. We also made some changes or updates to the peat oxidation data for grass systems. There was an error which resulted into a 0 value for grass systems. The gross energy content of roughage systems were corrected. It doesn't have any change in the overall impact of the products, but just the metadata is improved. And we made some changes to the diesel consumption for specific roughage systems, including the yield of maize silage in the United States. And the metadata, let's say the comments and the specific inputs for specific animal systems were corrected. And the price of linseed expeller was corrected in AFP7 as well. So this only affects the economic, the price only determines affects the economic library of AFP, but it's there, but it's good to mention anyway. We want to be as transparent as possible when it comes to bugs and change logs in the near future. So if you have any questions or you found a bug, please contact us so we can improve the product and report this on our website. One other thing is that we also updated part 3 of the documentation, and part 3 visualizes the changes compared to the last version. In this case, the last version is AFP 6.3. In this report, you see that there are plots, like you see on the right, for all EF 3.1 impact categories. Those are 16 in total, describing, let's say, the changes for, in this case, the impact of global warming for all the data sets that are in scope of AFP7. As you can see there, on average, it is the same, but there are different outliers. And in this version, we didn't go in that detail. So this is what you get, but there is a description of what on the main outliers. But in the future, we hope to provide more details on each of the methodological updates. So basically, each methodological update results in a certain change, and we would like to show that specific change for each update. Now you basically see only the change from 6.3 to 7, but we hope to see more incremental changes in the future. So not only to methodological updates, but basically to each data update and also background data updates to better show you the differences and basically explain this to the user, what changes result in what effect on the AFP products. So what's next? As of right now, we're already working on AFP8. AFP8 already will include again statistical updates because FEO has reported on a new statistical updates since the AFP7 has been released, and we aim to include more methodological improvements again. So we have improvements on the fertilizer modeling, peat modeling, and also we intend to include a major update on the animal systems, and as I explained earlier, better description of the changes. So, okay, this specific update results in this specific change in the data. And we expect to release a new version of AFP7 internally in summer 2026. And then, of course, we hope to have this also on the openLCA platform in somewhere this year.
And Agri-footprint 7 is now available in multiple license types through openLCA, so commercial, consultancy, and research licenses. The database is provided in all the 3 allocation options in the ZOCA format. And lastly, all these license types can be directly purchased via the openLCA Nexus website.
Thank you. We go back to Xiar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this really complete overview, I would call it, of the story of Agri-footprint. So now let's take a look at how Agri-footprint looks in openLCA. So super quickly, to do that, of course, we need 2 elements, so openLCA and Agri-footprint. For those that maybe never use openLCA, you can super quickly download it from our website, openlca.org. Again, as I said, it's for free, so there are no hidden fees. While for the database, we have another website, our marketplace indeed for databases, openLCA Nexus, like Jisin already mentioned. And here, basically, you can find the different licenses with the same exact prices that were shown in the slide just a moment ago. And also, there is the possibility of registering a non-Nexus license. So basically, if you already purchased the Agri-footprint license from another provider, you can also register it in openLCA Nexus, so you can get access to the Zolka file, which is our indeed native format of openLCA. Here, I would also like to point out your attention to the documents section, which is often overlooked, but I think super important, because indeed here you can find the methodology report, first of all, that was provided by Mérieux NutriSciences Blonk. And also, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I can also try with the laser point. Okay, so here you can also find a file where basically we explain how we implemented Agri-footprint in openLCA. And on this note, basically what we did is we received the CIMA-Pro CSV format, and we mapped all the items of the database in the openLCA reference flow system. And to, let's say, double check that everything was correct, we ran a calculation of the full database using the environmental footprint 3.1 method from our method package, so the openLCA LCA method package. And as you can see here from the image, the results were basically the same in CIMA-Pro and in openLCA, meaning everything was indeed correct. There were just a few discrepancies, but mostly related to the fact, to the methodology that we use to implement environmental footprint 3.1 method in openLCA versus CIMA-Pro. But it's really for specific cases. If you're interested and if you want to know more, you can find out more in the document that I showed in the previous slide. Okay, having said so, I think we can take a look at the software, so at openLCA. Super quickly, once you obtain the database, you can simply click here, database, new database from file. You select the Zolka file and you will have your database inside openLCA. So it's really quick. It just really takes a few seconds. Perfect. Now, let's take a look at the database 7.0. This structure is typical for every database inside openLCA. But if we open the processes and the flows folder, we have this division, which is on the other hand typical of Agri-footprint in openLCA. And I think it's a really nice structure because it really guides you to the different processes and flows. It's very ordered and again, easy to navigate. For example, now I wanted to show you a process which is barley production. Now, I don't remember by heart the way to get to the process, but it's super intuitive because I will go under material. It will be agriculture, plant production, it's a cereal, and here we are. Okay. As mentioned before, we have the economic energy and mass allocation. So there is this difference here. In this case, I'm taking the production of barley in Argentina. So just double click on the process. In this general information tab, I will have, of course, the name of the process and the description. And here, for example, you can double check what Mike were saying a moment ago, so that the time frame, the reference time frame of this process was updated. So before we had 2014, 2018, now we have 2018, 2022. And I think this is really nice to have. This is really important because, of course, up-to-date data is better data, is more representative of the current situation. So it's really good also that you can double check the reference time frame. Okay, then in the inputs and the outputs table, we have all the inputs and the outputs indeed. And since we have unit processes, so we are talking about unit processes indeed, we have really a nice level of detail of all the inputs and the output flows. So both product flows and elementary flows. Okay, then let's see how we can get to the calculation of the impacts, for example, related to this barley grain production. We will create a product system that actually I already created. So let's get here. We will just hit on calculate here. Let's stick to the environmental footprint 3.1 method. And very quickly, I will get to my results. We have different tabs, which are basically different ways of visualizing the results. Okay, now let's consider, for example, the impact analysis. Here, I already have a nice overview of the results of the different impact categories. And for example, if I open climate change and I order here the impact assessment results, I will see the exact results indeed of the different processes for climate change. Or for example, in the contribution tree, let's select climate change, okay. And what I can see here is basically the contribution of each process to the impact category, in this case, climate change. And I can immediately identify the hotspots of the production, in this case, of barley grain. So basically, I immediately understand that the use of diesel is the thing that contributes the most to the impact to climate change, indeed. And I can also see the exact results for this process. Okay, now, as also mentioned, we have some new processes in this version, so in Agri-footprint 7.0. For example, if I look for seed cotton in the processes, I will get this list of results. And for example, in Agri-footprint 6.3, I only had the seed cotton at farm, so basically these first three results. While in this version, I also have these other options, so the seed cotton dried and the market mix. So this is a really nice, fast way to check for the new indeed processes. And actually, I can also showcase the difference with Agri-footprint 6.3, because a tip that maybe not many users know is that you can open more openLCAs in your computer. Okay, so for example, I also have another openLCA open in my computer, this time with the database related to 6.3 open. And if I do the same research, so seed cotton, indeed, I will have just the results that the first three results I was telling about before. Okay, so this is a really nice way to compare different versions of the same database, so 7 against 6.3. And if you want to get a list of all the changes, basically, of the versions of Agri-footprint, you can also visit our website, openlca.org. And under the blog section, we have a blog post dedicated to the update of Agri-footprint, where we really provided a nice overview of all the changes. For example, there is where I saw that there was this difference of the seed cotton, for example, production. Okay, perfect. So now I gave, of course, a broader overview of how Agri-footprint looks in openLCA. Always keep in mind that you can then work on it. So openLCA is really flexible. You can create new processes, new flows. You can start maybe from an already present process and modify it so that it is even more representative of your reality. For example, if you have some primary data, it will be great. It's the best case. And you can modify, again, the processes that are already present in the database so that is even more representative, like I said. Okay, so this I think is enough as a presentation. I hope you got the idea of how this works. So we moved quite quickly, but I hope it provided with a nice overview again of all the changes that were implemented with the 7.0 version of Agri-footprint. So now let's see if there are questions in the Q&A section. Don't be shy. Okay. There is something in the chat. Okay. Okay, buying version 7, will I have access to version 8 freely, or it is better to wait to version 8 to be launched? Version 7 is ready for CIMA Pro. Why do you have less processes than in version 6.3? It's actually many questions, so.
Yeah. Indeed. So for the first one, I'm not sure actually what we will do. Maybe Yashin.
I can jump in. So for usually our database versions are separate. So for version 7 and the version 8, it will also be separate in terms of license purchase. And yeah, and version 7, the second question, version 7 is indeed also available in CIMA Pro now.
Yeah, and related to the scope, why the scope is slightly different in AFP7, that is because some of the products that were part of AFP 6.3 were tagged as obsolete. So there were some products that were about to be removed, and they were now actually were removed from AFP. And therefore, the scope is a bit smaller. But if you remove, yeah, that has been due to the obsolete processes. And indeed, I mentioned EF 4.0, it's not going to be launched as a final product, but we delivered an sort of intermediate product to the European Commission. So it's not the full database, but it will be a sort of a separate database that is not completed yet because the project has been discontinued in that sense. But we used for let's say for the intermediate product, we use the same modeling principles as for AFP7 basically.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, also the same person says thanks, so I think you answered perfectly. Okay, another question. Maybe I missed it, but were the prices for the economic allocation also updated to more recent data, so 2018, 2022 in the version 7?
No, updating the price data has always been quite a difficult thing for us. So we did some update of price data in the past for AFP6. And for this version we haven't updated any of the prices, and we know this can be quite important, so we intend to update this again for the next version, but didn't fit into our schedule for AFP7 this version basically. So the answer is no, maybe next time.
Welcome. And okay, in the meanwhile, if no other question comes in from the public, let's say, I actually had a curiosity, so if I can, I also will ask something. I was curious about if you included also specific data sets for like organic cultivation or specific or agricultural practices, let's say.
No, we don't have them yet because most of the data that we're currently using is based on FAO statistics, and currently the FAO statistics don't distinguish between, let's say, organic or conventional or specific cultivation types. However, we are intending to support this in the future, but there's probably more longer route for the future, because we see that there is demand for it and that there is probably data out there, but not, let's say, on the FAO level, but it could be then primary data or secondary data or let's say sectoral data from different institutes that then we can complement to the FAO data. So that will be not replacing, but it will be a sort of additions that we foresee in the future. But on what time horizon? Probably not for the AFP8, but maybe in the versions thereafter, basically.
Okay, I see. Very interesting.
It's currently a limitation in the data, but as soon as we have different data sources which are there, we can probably implement these. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Okay, let's see if anyone else has questions. Something I didn't say at the beginning, the recording of this webinar will be available in our YouTube page. So in case you wanted to double check something, if you missed any part, you can also watch it there. I think we are going to publish it this afternoon or tomorrow tops. Okay. Let's see. Okay. There are no other questions coming in. Okay, so maybe I have a question if no one else writes down anything. So are you seeing any particular trends like in how companies use LCA data now?
Yeah, we see that there is more, but maybe Yinxin can comment on this better than I do. Do you want to comment on this?
I think I can comment on the side of the demand. So the trend of the demand is still quite steady. Still, a lot of companies nowadays are joining this, joining the trend or committing to the targets or to the movement. And I think, Mike, maybe you can comment a bit on if you have any insights in how exactly they may be using the data.
So so adding to that story, so we see that there are so let's say more there are different uses of AFP. So that is what we see. So there are, let's say, full LCA practitioners who are, let's say, modeling or using AFP as building blocks to model their systems. And we see that there are users that are basically using AFP as reference numbers. Okay, they have a certain bill of materials. They want to complete their bill of materials. Adding, let's say, specific environmental impact numbers for each of these lists. And we now see that companies are dedicated, as Yinxin mentioned, to reduce the environmental impact of, let's say, the carbon footprint of their supply chain, and they using AFP as also to benchmark their current impacts, basically. So that is what we see. So there's different use cases of AFP. We also, that makes it for us also quite difficult to where to focus on, and we also intend to send out a questionnaire in the near future on what do our users want. Is it more numbers? Is it more details? Is it scope expansion, etc.? So we hope to get a bit better insight next time, and basically where the landscape, or at least what our users are going to in the near future. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I asked this because it's also something we are noticing, but I think it's yeah, the direction is this one for sure. Okay, so I would like to thank again Mike and Jishin for your availability, for the explanation, and also all the people that participated today. Again, the video will be on YouTube. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Have a nice day. Bye bye bye.